So this talk's all going to be about content, blogging, how you put that together, why you should do it, and some tricks really in how I do things, and that sort of forms a strategy, and you can take that strategy and run with it. Now, some of the things we should know about Bath Digital Festival, I mean, they're a charity, so hopefully when you got your tickets, you paid a donation as well. Well done if you did. If you didn't, don't worry, it doesn't matter. It's a really good cause. On the screen at the moment, a couple of the key partners in setting it up. On the next screen, if I can get this to work, are a lot of the other supporters and partners and people who really make the whole thing work. It's a great thing to be part of. Right, so let's begin. So, as I said, we're going to be looking at trying to help you with a content strategy. Now, I don't know what level you are. I'm aiming this at people who haven't started anything at all, or through to people who've been trying some things. They kind of know what they're doing, but just want a little bit of guidance. Maybe they're going to get a few gems out of this. So I'm going to give you a basic strategy that I use. I'm going to show you how to focus on what's important, some tips for generating ideas, and also some SEO techniques. Now, often people miss this when they're thinking about content. They look at just pushing stuff out online, but often some of the best ways to develop content is to think about putting that content out there for people to find as well. So SEO or search optimization is a really good way to think about, or something that's worth thinking about. What I want you to do throughout this presentation is don't write down everything. If you want the slides, I'll give you my email at the end. You can send me an email, I'll give you the slides, no problem at all. I think Bath Digital are also recording the videos, so you will be able to get a copy of it later and see what's going on. But do ask questions. There's a Q&A panel. Please ask questions in there. I may not be able to get around to them straight away, but I will try, and most of all have fun, you know. Okay, so just to give you a quick insight into the strategy, this is it. Basically, job done. I can go home now. Basically, the idea of my strategy is that you create remarkable content, and you publish it consistently, and you share it with your fans or your audience or your customers. That's it. But I'm going to give you a little bit of the background now about how I got to this particular point. Before we get there, though, let's get connected. Now, normally this is really nice to do in person. We can swap LinkedIn profiles. I can get people with their hands up to share who their businesses are. It might be a little bit more tricky, but let's try and see what we can do. What I'd like you to do, if you can, is I would like you to share your name, company, and if you want, your LinkedIn profile. But more importantly, I want you to share what you hope to get out of this workshop. And I'd like you, seeing as the chat function isn't working, I'd like you to put it into the Q&A, if that's all right. So put it in as a question. Name, your company, LinkedIn profile, web address if you want to be cheeky and promote yourself, but more importantly, what you hope to get out of this workshop, because that's going to be useful to me. I'm going to pick up on a few of those and hopefully answer those questions. The main aim behind all of this is I want to follow you all to grow my network. I want to meet you all, and since we can't meet in person, let's meet online. Let's sort of embrace this medium and meet each other online. I've got my LinkedIn code here. If any of you have the LinkedIn app or just a QR code scanner, you can scan the code that's on screen and get connected to me. Thanks everyone for putting your details in. I see people are starting to come through, which is absolutely fab. Brilliant. Okay, while you do that, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about me. So my name is Ben. Hello. These are all pictures of me, and it's not because I want to show you off how great I am, because this is just to show you sort of breadth of what I do. I do workshops in person, work one-to-one with people. This top right there's a tweet up I started many years ago, which was really good, like connecting people who met online, offline. It's quite a nice idea. I think I stole it from somewhere in the States. I also run a podcast. I love doing this sort of thing. Oddly, I don't really get too nervous about this. There's many other things I get nervous about, but this isn't one of them. But basically, I've worked with, over the past, since we started 2009, about 500 businesses, helping them to do better business. I tend to come at it from the angle of marketing, but really I'm just interested in helping people become more effective in what they do. I just love working with people, and I love working with people where I can get that from them. It's one of the reasons I love Bath Digital, is because I can get a lot of that information and be a better person. So I tend to focus on marketing strategy, web development, video, data analysis, anything really where I can get an insight into a business and understand a bit more about them. We've also got a free marketing podcast. Did I mention that already? It's called the Inventive Marketing Club. It actually started off as something inventive, and it started off as something else before that, a series of interviews, really. And actually, if you're interested in that, I'm talking with a guy called Ed later on at 4 p.m. On Bath Digital Festival. So do look out for that. Okay. So let's see who we've got here. Have a look in here. We've got, hi, Ashley, Trish, hello. Ashley, you're an education specialist at Learning Science. Welcome. Thanks for coming. Who else? We've got Sarah. Sarah from Sustrans in Bristol. Welcome. Thanks for coming along. And we've got your LinkedIn there. Kelly O'Neill. Where are you from? Brilliant. So you've given me what you want out of it. So you'd like to find any gems to improve your current content strategy process. I hope I can help with that. Susan, good morning. Trish. You want to make sure you're up to date in your thinking, and if not, get up to date. Great. I mean, that's what always I'm trying to do. And I think even if you think you know everything, it's always good to learn more, just to either concrete your knowledge a little bit more, make sure you do know, or to reach out and just learn those little nuggets. So hopefully I can help you there. Rebecca, hi. You're formerly senior editor at Ice House Books in Bath. Good morning. And you're looking to enhance your skill set and look for new opportunities. Well, I mean, Bath Digital is great for that. Shame I can't meet you all. Who else we got here? Hi, Fiona. Betsy. You work in PR, Betsy. Hi. David. Oh, there's loads of you. It's brilliant. Let me skip a few here. Sorry. You want to learn more? You want never know enough? Yeah, I'm down with that. You know, it took me so long to learn that. When you're young, you're like, I don't need to learn from other people. I know everything. The older you get, the more you realize that actually there is so much you can learn from other people, even if it's just a slightly different way of working, or just an appreciation that you're doing the right thing. Peter, you are the creator of EdSoft. You want more schools to know about us. Great. You're not doing enough active on LinkedIn. And one more, who can I find here? Martha Cox, stakeholder engagement consultant. That sounds very exciting. And you've got your LinkedIn profile there. Brilliant. Thank you. Sorry, I've not been able to get back to everyone, but it's really nice. Thank you for coming along. Hopefully I can help with what you want. Okay. So the first thing in any strategy, whatever you're doing, in fact, if you're building a house, you're building a shed, you're going shopping, is you want to understand your environment. And so in marketing, we want to understand why we're doing it, who we're communicating with. So I always think about the first part of marketing like this, that if you understand who your best customers are and why they buy from you, then you can build that knowledge into your marketing and attract more people like them. Because really, that's certainly what I want. I want to find more of the customers who I already work well with. Now, it's slightly difficult if you're starting out. I can appreciate if you haven't got any customers, you can't look at your best customers. So you might have to take a guess, and that's fine. But as soon as possible, if you can start working with even the first person and you get on really well, then that's the time to concrete it. So first thing, understand who your best customers are and why they buy from you, and then build that knowledge into your marketing so you can attract more customers like them. I think people, if you don't do this, certainly with social media, you can just be shouting into the void and not really attracting the right people. So a good way to start this process is to think about your best customer, or the ideal customer, if you will, and describe them in 5 words. Now, normally I would ask you to do this, but I think it's just going to be absolute pandemonium with the amount of people here. So what I'm going to do is just ask you to do this in your own time. Just think about your best customer and just describe them in 5 words. And 5 words, by the way, is arbitrary. There's no science to it. But what I want you to do is, the reason for it is it just forces you to think about the main words that describe them, rather than having some long, rambly sentence. So I'm going to give you mine to give you an idea. This is Alex, who's pictured here. Alex Koppop, lovely guy. He's actually one of my first clients. Been working with him for about 6 years now. He's an architect. He works in Hereford. He loves what he does. He really does. And so I would say he's passionate. Maybe that's overused for some people, but for him, I would say he's passionate. In fact, I just met him the other day. We're looking at buying a house. And it's just so great to work with him, because he's walking around the house, and even though there's so much wrong with it, he is finding the beauty and the detail and the things that you can do, the possibilities, and you can see that coming out of him. So I would describe him as passionate. He's also a professional. He's an architect. He studied for a long time. Is it 5 years, something like that, for architecture to sort of go all the way through and to become accredited? He's a professional. He has had to train in what he does. He's also paid well for what he does. So he understands the value of that. I would like to find more people like Alex, because like him, he's paid for his professional services. So he respects that other people would pay, that he should pay for any professional services as well. So I want to find people who understand that there's a certain amount you can get for free, but when you want that detailed, passionate help, support throughout your project, you should pay for that. So I want people who respect that. Next, and this is a bit of an odd one, he's a Mac user like me. I'm using a Mac. There's no specific reason apart from it just makes life easier. If he's using a Mac and I'm using a Mac, it's going to make it a lot easier for us to get along. Anything software, services, anything like that, it just makes it so much easier. So it makes my job easier. So if I'm looking for people, I want them to be Mac users, but it doesn't matter if you use a PC. I'm really not against you. And the age 40, I'm 42. Alex, I think, is 41. Sorry, Alex, for calling you out there. But I'm looking for people who are around that age. Roughly speaking, I'm not ageist. I'm not. They can be, certainly older is better, if anything. But I just tend to find that I work better with people like that. And I think it comes down to that they respect their time more. They have less of it, and they're willing to pay for someone else to help get some of it back. So that's how I describe Alex. Alex Kopok. He is a sort of an avatar, really, someone I always picture when I'm thinking about how we can develop content and what he would like. So this is a really good exercise. If you've done nothing else, it's a really good exercise for you to just think about your best customer. Next, so if you want to take it a bit deeper, then we want to start thinking about product fit. And all this it's nothing complicated. You just think about what your customer wants and what your product delivers, and then marry the two up. Now, ideally, if you're starting from scratch, you want to think about all the things your customer wants to achieve, whether it's little goals or big life goals. And then you want to build and design a product that meets every single one of those. And you can often see that in many products, sort of modern businesses starting today. They're really focused around key issues, very niche. But a lot of people can't do that. They start because they're passionate about something and they develop a business out of it. So you can still do it the other way around. You can just think about what customers you do have and what goals they have, what needs they have, and just make sure that your marketing is attuned to that. So let me give you an example from a company you might recognize, HelloFresh. On one side, we've got the customer goal. They've got some key things like save time cooking, save money, and save stress or reduce stress. I just wanted to have save in each one of those, but reduce stress. They're core things that a lot of people recognize. Now, I like cooking, so I don't mind taking some extra time out of it. I like planning. But a lot of people, certainly when we're all traveling to work, would have a reduced amount of time when they got home. And if they're cooking for a family or just a partner, then that can be quite stressful if they've got to think of tasty, interesting, different meals and healthy meals, nutritious meals to have every single day. So HelloFresh is coming at solving that problem. They will save you time cooking because everything is pre-measured out. They can save you money. They could save you money because everything is a fixed cost. You're not going to the supermarket and impulse buying various different things. You're just getting what you need for a fixed price every week or every month. So that can, if you're dedicated to it, could save you money. And it saves stress because you're not having to think of those tasty, nutritious recipes. They can deliver that for you. Now, it could be that you could develop your own product that just does tasty recipes and just satisfies that save stress. So maybe an avid cook, maybe I'd be interested in that. I'd be interested in getting a recipe card through for every single day of the week. And it just gives me some options of what to do. That's why recipe books are really good. They sort of take away the stress of what to cook. But it's always better if your product can attack multiple goals at the same time, because it's going to create more value for your customer. There's so much more we can do on this. But as an exercise, it's something I'd like you to do and take away, just to take 5 minutes, just to go through and list 3, maybe 5 of your customer goals and how your product links through to that. Because one of the things you can do then is make sure you're talking about those key goals. Don't talk about your product and how great it is. Talk about the benefits that your product will have to your customer, or the goals that they have and how they'll be able to achieve them by using your product. It's quite good for you to once you see this, you'll start seeing it in lots of other advertising as well. Advertising that works really well isn't talking about the features on a particular product. It's not talking about the metrics, the stats. They're talking about how it will make your life better. So moving on. If you want to take that a little bit further, you should focus on helping your customer achieve that particular goal with as little effort as possible. I mean, if you can reduce it down to no effort, that's even better. And that's where people will pay. So if you want to leverage your product and get more money, get people to pay more money for it, then you try and reduce the amount of effort involved for people to reach their goal. So just going back to HelloFresh, an example, producing recipe cards is great for me, someone who likes cooking, but for someone who doesn't, that's a lot of effort. So actually HelloFresh have gone that step further to reduce the amount of effort. They've looked at everything that is a pain point for people and reduced it, removed it. Now, if you like that idea, I mean, this particular idea here comes from Jobs to be Done, which I'm not going to go into now. I've got a longer presentation which dives into this, but it's really interesting. Tons and tons of useful information in Jobs to be Done. I've left up the URL there for you to follow. But essentially, you want to fulfill a goal and help your customer achieve that with as little effort as possible. Okay, I'm going to rush through this bit, buying stages, because you can look at the slides, you can maybe watch back the video. A lot of it is just text here. But essentially, what I want you to do is think about whenever you are approaching a customer, or customers approaching you, they're going to go through 3 different buying stages. First, they're going to become aware of you. They don't know you. They need to become aware of you. Then they need to consider you. And that could be a process that could happen within 30 seconds or a year, depending on the product you're selling. And then there's the decision process as well. So let me quickly run through those. Awareness, that's all about the sort of promotion you do, maybe the social activity, blogs on your website, everything where you are getting people's attention. So you want to think about what attracts their attention. Where do they hang out? What online forums are they on? What social media? Are they on Snapchat? Are they on this? TikTok, doesn't matter where they are, but you need to know that. What goals do they have? And what search terms do they use? In consideration, this is where people maybe come to your website, but it could be that maybe you've caught their eye with a Facebook post and they're interacting with you more on Facebook. That's fine. It doesn't matter. You've just got to think about the pathway, the best pathway for your customer. How can you help them achieve their goal? Oh, I'm not quite sure what happened there. Zoom just bombed out. Sorry about that. Okay, let's continue. So this is a persona where you put all of the information into that you've sort of gone through, the goals, the benefits, how they buy, what content you're going to make, so they become aware of you, consider you, and then decide to buy from you. Really important. As I said, I will send you a copy of this if you ask for the slides. Okay, moving on. Now, this is the bit that a lot of people get stuck into straight away, but it is a key section. I want you to create remarkable blog articles, social shares, how-to videos, and email, and deliver it consistently so that people become aware of you. And now remarkable is the operative word here. I don't know if anyone's heard of Seth Godin, but he's quite hot on marketing. He's got a lot to say on it. He's got a great blog, I think, called This Is Seth, and a podcast called Akimbo. Check him out. But basically, here's a quote from him about how important remarkable is. Remarkable doesn't mean remarkable to you, as in the business owner. It means remarkable to me, the customer. Am I going to remark on it or not? And if not, you're average, and average is for losers. Now, while that last bit is a bit harsh, it is fair, because if you think about it, it's very visible in a social stream. If what you're putting out is not standing out, it's not as remarkable as other people, then it's going to just not stand out, and it's not going to be visible to people. So you need to create something that will stand out in a way. It will be remarkable. It's something that people can share, that they feel compelled to tell other people. If you want to know more about this, being remarkable, Purple Cow is a great book by Seth Godin that you can get on Audible. I recommend you have a look at that. But what can I do to be remarkable? I think you don't always need to be big and do great things or silly things to be remarkable. You can just connect with people. So I'll give you some examples. Just very quickly run through a few examples where I've tried to connect with people in a way so I stand out a little bit more. This is Lisa, and she works for HubSpot, and I was quite interested in the campaign that they were sending out. So I found out who was sending out the campaign, and I got in touch. It happened that I was actually producing a a workshop, and I just wanted some stats for it. So I got in touch with Elisa, and I did it by video. So I went on Twitter and I just recorded just a video, piece to camera on my video, sent it to her with my questions, and then she replied in kind like this. Now, it's one-to-one, but often some of the best communication you can do will be one-to-one, but you still need to stand out. She's probably very busy with her marketing strategy, had a lot on. A video mentioning her on Twitter, on social media, is a way of standing out. Now, you might recognize this is actually from my podcast from Bath Digital last year. One of the things that I find that helps you be a bit more remarkable is to include other people. And a good way of doing that is by interviewing them. So this is Ed, and I'm actually speaking to Ed later about podcasting. When was it? 4 o'clock later on Bath Digital Festival today. So Ed had a talk. I went along to the talk and I interviewed Ed after the talk. That's great, because now I've got Ed's contact details. I've got a new connection online, and I'm going to produce some content which I can share with him. And what I found, or I know now, is that when you share content which includes other people, they want to share it too, specifically if it talks about them. So I've got a bit of content that's useful to me, my audience, and my customers, and I can share it with Ed, and he can share it with his audience too, because it gives more of an insight into him. And actually, at Bath Digital, I did that for lots of different people. I think it was about 8 people in the end that I interviewed in person and then cut together like this. When that went live on LinkedIn, rather than having one post, one video, maybe I could push it a few more times. I could include other different people, which means that the people I interviewed would come on and comment on that particular piece, and that they would also, I found that they reshared it a lot afterwards. So what I got is, rather than something that would last a day or so, I got a piece of content that was just kept repeating for about 2 weeks, and got me some new contacts and some new audience, and sort of increased my reach, if you will, because of that. So connecting with other people, involving other people, is a remarkable thing to do. People like that. This is a really small thing, but I quite liked it. Sarah Townsend followed Geek Freelance, and Geek Freelance thought, oh, that's quite nice. Sarah's a big hit in the sort of copywriting world. And she wrote a little thank you note and sent a picture back and mentioned Sarah in it, which is a really nice thing. And I know it's nice because Sarah then shared it with everyone else. We know it's remarkable because she took the effort to do something different. It's a small thing. It's one-to-one, but if you do it with the right people, that can matter. What else have we got here? So this is a nice one, sending a gift. If anyone does anything nice for you, send a gift. Make it tasty if you can, like these chocolate brownies are so amazing. You send those, you start to, particularly with food, it can help create emotions with people and help connect on a deeper level and not just through work. So this is actually John from Communion Architects. He works with Alex, and they referred me, and I sent them this lovely gift of brownies, and they sent me a video back saying how basically where they're all fighting over the brownies because they were so tasty, and it's really nice. And if you can do that and do it in the right way, in the genuine way, that's a really good way of connecting with people outside and doing something a bit more remarkable. Using video is something that is now less remarkable than it used to be, but if used in the right way, can be stand out. So this is an example of how Jonathan Mahan got booked on our podcast because he sent me an email with a video in it. Now, it wasn't just a link to the video. It was actually an email with an embedded GIF sort of showing him moving around. And when I clicked on the link, then I got a video of him talking about how he wants to be on our podcast. He mentioned me by name. He mentioned the podcast name by name. So he's being personal, and he's talking about the things that would work well for him. That got my attention out of all the other emails I had that day, and maybe other people wanting to come on the podcast. So I immediately got back in touch, and we organized it very quickly. And his LinkedIn post here just goes to show how well that worked for him, using video to connect with someone. There's no reason you can't use video to connect with multiple people. Doing a Zoom workshop like this, or doing Facebook Live, I found some of my customers have really great impact on just doing having a regular live where their customers or their fans know to expect them, and so they'll go in and look forward to their next episode and what they're going to say. So video is really key if you want to be remarkable, and it's still very important. And just finally, this is quite a sad story in a way, but Mark here shared a story about Basically, that he felt he got to a place in life and he realized that actually he had no friends. He didn't really socialize on a sort of a personal level. Had lots of business contacts and maybe old friends, but never got in touch with them. And he was feeling a bit sad. And so this is him talking about that and actually saying it's a real cause of depression in men and suicide. So he went on by sharing this. It's his way of saying, look, this is quite normal. We should talk about this. Don't worry about it. It's something we can seek help for. So that will get attention by sharing a secret. It has to be done in the right way. Has to be genuine. So great content. And a great, remarkable, it's got to be good, can provide an insight into your business and credibility that you know your stuff. So if you want to have some sort of plan to this, rather than just going on Facebook Live and talking about whatever you want, or just writing blog posts and hoping they do well, you want to have some kind of strategy where you can put out content that you feel is going to benefit your customer. So you could split content into 3 different types. You've got helpful, topical, and product-based content. So I like helpful content. If you can produce things a bit like this that help people, that are going to give people some support, some advice, they're going to help people move forward in life in whatever they're doing, that's, I think, where you want to be spending your time. Because the nice thing about it is it can be passive. You can put out that content, whether it's a video, a social post, or a blog post. You can put that out there and people will find it. So certainly that's where we're going to come on to SEO in a minute. People will find that content and it's going to be useful for people down the line. So the time and effort you spend on developing that helpful content will be useful into the future. So that's where I'd spend most of your time if you can. And you know what's going to be helpful because you've already thought about this. You've already thought about the customer and their goals. And if you know what their goal is, there's probably many different ways or points along the journey where they need help. If you can talk about those in whatever format works best for you or your customer, then that's going to be helpful. Topical content, this is probably the bit I find most difficult, but it's just going out there, usually on social media, talking about things that are current right now, trying to sort of get on the back of hashtags, trying to weave into your product or your story, other things that are going on, just being present, basically. Some of the best people on social media or use social media in this way. They're sort of very current. They're talking about the topics that are going on right now, and not necessarily even selling. So I've got some examples here for a bookkeeper or an accountant where maybe when auto enrollment was something that business owners might be thinking about, then they're talking about that, or IR35. I know that's kind of something that's relevant as well. So if you are the sort of person who likes being online and you're able to sort of respond and roll with content as it comes up, then topical content could be really good for you. The problem with it, while it can get more reach and sort of get you more a bigger audience or fan base, if you will, it tends to be short-lived. So you have to work quite hard to do that. That's why I prefer helpful content, because I can plan and work at it and develop it over a period of time. You also want to be thinking about product content. So this is anything to do with your particular business or your product or your service, where you are talking more about your product. You want to do a lot less of that because it's all about you. It's like going to a networking event and just talking about yourself. But it is important. So if you have a bit of software and you want to talk about a new feature, you should talk about that in whatever form works best for your audience. Maybe a new firmware update, a new feature, a new idea for a product, whatever it is, there is going to be stuff that will resound with maybe a smaller core of your audience who are so into your product and your service, they actually do want to know those details. So you do want to make sure you focus on that as well. So I've got some examples, like quite a broad one. Do I need an accountant? So we're talking very specifically about that. That could be seen in either product or helpful content, or the benefits of cloud accounting with Xero, perhaps really specific stuff here. So whatever you do, and however you produce content, think about it in these 3 ways. Helpful content, that's where I like to spend my time. Topical content, that's great if you really love being up to the minute, and it's great for expanding your reach. And product content, and that's what everyone should be doing, talking a little bit about themselves. A tool that's going to help you come up with ideas, and a lot of you may know this by now, but it's a really good tool. It's called answerthepublic.com. And what I love about it is that you can type in a key phrase like bookkeeping, and it will scour its database for questions or statements that people put into Google. Now, what's good about this is it's not just random things an AI has made up. It is all stuff on Google that people have been asking. So there is some demand for it. It doesn't tell you how much demand. It's not doing a full keyword analysis and looking at the amount of traffic and searches for that particular keyword, but it does give you somewhere to start. And if you're completely lacking on what you should be writing about that's going to resound with your audience, this is a really good tool to get you started. Certainly I use it when my brain's gone blank and I don't know where to start. It's nice for something just to give you some ideas. So answerthepublic.com, great tool. Here are some other ideas as well. If you're not sure, I always find helping someone's great. Answering people's questions, secrets, mistakes people make and how to avoid them. Lots of stuff here. If you're not sure, so the first top few there, just some ideas. If you're not sure what to do or you're just lacking inspiration for the day, just share something else you found interesting. A lot of our blog is based on things that I've read that I think actually that would be really good for our audience. I found interesting, so I'm going to share something. So I just take a little snippet. I just clip out a little extract and put that on our blog with my commentary towards that as well. So I'm sharing that post. It's useful for customers, and I'm adding my additional bit of value to it. You could help someone else by answering a question on LinkedIn. Maybe you could promote another business or event. Helping other people is never a bad thing if you're lacking any other inspiration. Or you could sign up to my marketing club for ideas as well. Right, SEO. This is important. It's less about people want to be on social media, and that's a great place to be. But search optimization and getting people to come to your place, your website, your location, your brand online is still really important. And so what I have to say here is based on a quote from Moz, and it's: if you want to succeed at search engine optimization, you create a page on a keyword that is 10 times better than your competition in search results. If you want to find out a lot more about that, go and look at moz.com, and they've got, it's basically a whole massive resource for SEO professionals. But I will just give you the insider bits that I use on a key basis. So if you are producing a bit of content and you feel it's going to have some value, particularly if it's helpful content, you feel it's going to have some value to people typing in a search query, then it's worth spending a little bit of extra time to think about what keywords people are going to be searching for. So once you've done that, once you know what someone's searching for, and in this case, proofreading services was a keyword, then you make sure that is in the title and the description and the main heading. So looking at the little Google preview window here, I'm using a tool called Yoast in WordPress to edit this, but if you're using Wix or Squarespace, there are other different ways of changing this. You can actually go in and make sure the keywords are in the page title, and so when your entry shows up in Google because someone's typed it, then you've customized what's there. So I've made sure the title has proofreading services and guide in it, and also that we've got proofreading or variations of that particular word in the description as well. Try and give as much description as possible. If you've got any keyword variations, then make sure they're in the content. Used mixed content as well. So not just text, make sure you've got images in there. Video if you can. I mean, video is, I bang on about video a lot, but it makes a huge difference. If you can record a video that summarizes your blog post and put that on YouTube and make sure the keywords kind of match your article and then embed it on your article, it's going to help either get shown first because it's going to get indexed straight away on Google, and maybe over time it's going to uplift your content so that shows higher up the search onto page one as well. So doing videos are incredibly important. Using lists, bulleted lists, FAQs, answer questions. It's all really important to make sure that whatever you've got there is 10 times better than the competition in search results and really answers the question well, deeply, truly. I don't advocate SEO to trick people. I just point out things that work and that also will be useful to people as well. If you are writing a blog post and you've got a main landing page as well, make sure you link back to the landing page in the first paragraph if you can, if not somewhere on the page. internal linking in your website is incredibly important. So if you're spending time on your content, make sure you're funneling people somewhere. Avoid thin content. So if you need to, short blog post is fine, but don't expect it to rank well or do well in search engines. If you really want to focus on it, make sure you are aiming for something more than that, like 1,000 words, 2,000 words. Again, it really depends on your competition and what they're already doing. Ultimately, write for people. That's what we're trying to do. You're trying to help people here, not for search engines. But if there are certain things we can do, then it makes a difference. And ultimately, if it's possible, ask for action. Ask for people to do something, whether it's to click, sign up, buy, find out more. I think it's you're doing your customer an injustice, and if not your site, by not saying, hey, you enjoyed this, why not take it further? So we've put all this content together. We're creating all this really cool stuff. And what most people do is they just keep pushing it out there. And then eventually they go, it's not working. I don't know why it's not working. You've got to measure. So measure everything and find out what works and do more of what works. It's fairly straightforward. But what I would say is don't just look for engagement. Don't just look for comments or shares. I feel they are vanity metrics. They make you feel better. It's nice to see that someone's liked your post, but ultimately it may not make a difference. It may not impact on an algorithm, so it may not mean your content gets shown anymore. But also, it's not really meaningful. If ultimately your goal is to get people to come and buy more of your product or sign up to your newsletter or whatever your goal is, then if they don't do that, that's not a meaningful action. So I always look for action in people, look for what steps they are taking that come closer to where you want them to be, and not just engagement with whatever post you've created. So with that being said, what stats are important to me? So obviously I do marketing. We've got a marketing club. One of the things I like to look for is what content I produce brings people closer to joining that club, even if it's on the free level. I know after that is a different thinking about whether they're going to upgrade, but I do care about what articles I write, where they get published, and what resounds with people. So I want to look at the channels that most people that brings in most visits and brings in most conversions. And by channels, I mean different traffic sources, different places, like, was it social media? Is it Twitter? Is it video? Is it organic search? Are they typing something into Google? Which landing pages do people start on? Do they come straight into the landing page I've created, so this dedicated page on the club, or do they come in via blog posts that I've written that point to the club? And the number of signups. So ultimately, how many people sign up on a monthly basis? So just quickly looking at that, I use a tool called Google Analytics. And this is really looking at, this is the acquisition overview page in Google Analytics. If you don't have Google Analytics on your site, it's worth adding. There are other stats tools and they're going to give you similar things, but Google Analytics is free. I want to see where they come from. And I've got a list here: organic, direct, which means they've either come straight to the site from just opening a browser fresh, or maybe Google can't tell where they've come from. Some sort of social media site. Have they been referred from another website? Have they come in from an email of mine? So where do they come from? How long do they stay is quite interesting as well. What pages do they land on first? So which pages are working to bring people through to my club page, and how many people bounce? And by bounce, that means they just look at that one page and disappear forever. Maybe it's a bad sign if too many people bounce. Maybe it's actually I'm giving the information and they're going, great, happy days, I'm on my way. But either way, I want to try and reduce that bounce rate because I want them to sign up. I want them to get all the free information. The other thing I look at is goals. And a lot of people that I speak to might have set up Google Analytics, but what they haven't done is set up goals. And all a goal is a trigger when someone lands on a page or hits an event. An event could be something like pushing a button, playing a video, or filling out a form. And a page could be, think about if you've got an e-commerce process and you go through from the cart all the way through to the thank you page. The thank you page will be that goal. And for this particular one here, we've got just a very simple process where people fill out a form and then get a callback request. And so I can see from here where people come from. So they've come from Google. 49 people have gone to the form page from Google, and then only 16 or 15 have actually filled out the form, gone through to the next page and filled out the form. So this is a really useful way of not only counting exactly how many people complete what you want them to do, a particular task on the website, but seeing where they fall out, particularly useful for e-commerce funnels. So you want to look at how many people succeed, how many people join your club, sign up, buy from you, which sources convert best, and that's where should you spend your time. Maybe you're pumping lots of money into AdWords, but actually find that you get a lot from organic, and AdWords isn't giving you much of the organic. There are different ways of finding that out, by the way. So you want to understand where people are coming from. Where do they get stuck and where do they drop out? Final thing I'd say on this, and this slightly falls outside of content, but I think is incredibly relevant from an audience perspective. But when you work with people, get feedback from them, and that feedback can encourage referrals. And as we know, or if you don't know, referrals are the #1 lead source. If someone can refer you to someone else, you've got a much higher chance of that person becoming a customer or sort of having a meaningful relationship to you. I mean, it often works with people where just in person, where you might recommend someone to go for a drink with, and actually they may get on really well. And it's because we wouldn't recommend something that wouldn't be good for that other person. So if you can get feedback, that can encourage people to refer you. And this can be really useful because you can use that in different ways. Here's how I ask, and I ask it at the end of any project we do. You've even got a little mini question on at the end of every sort of support email. If you were to recommend us to a friend, what would you say? And I've developed that question because what comes out of it is usually a testimonial. Most of the time, I'd say like 95% of the time, most people write an answer in such a way that gives you some meaningful feedback. And also you can just copy and paste and use it directly as a testimonial. So it's really good. And it also gives you an insight into why they like you, what they got out of it, because they're sharing it with you. So it's quite an important question. And I would ask after a successful sale, or every single sale, if you're confident about that, and ask for that feedback. If you were to recommend us to a friend, what would you say? You can use that testimonial in your marketing. So some examples of the results from that are here. If you look at the things they're using, the words they're using, you can make sure you talk about that in your website. So they're skilled and responsive. So that's really important for some people. Skill mentioned again here, painless, enjoyable, perfect for snacking. That's not actually one from us, that's from Gray's. But you can use what comes out of testimonials and use it back in your marketing, because you're using the language that your customers use, which is why it's really important as a feedback mechanism. A positive review, particularly if it's in video, can reinforce how the customer feels about your product as well. So a lot of what we do is if a customer is willing, then we like to get a case study video with them. So where we are mainly focusing on them and their business, and then maybe just a short segment at the end where we ask that magic question, how they would recommend us to a friend. And then the nice thing about this, we can put it out on our blog, we can share it on an email, we can share it on social media. They get to share it as well because it features them. So they want to share it with their customers, and it may give an insight into their business that they're not already giving. And what I find is, people won't do it unless they really believe in you or they really like what you do. And it can also turn them into fans and referrers, because if you put that content out there, they'll want to share it with other people. It really will bring them closer to you. Video particularly, just like this one from Whitley Jones. You know what? It also gives you an idea. Certainly if you don't know your customers very well, it gives you a really good excuse to get to know them better. But whatever you do, however you're asking for testimonials, say thank you. And these Graze boxes are a really good way of saying thank you. They're they're under £4. You can easily buy them online. It sends them through the post, no hassle, and people love them. It's a nice little treat you can get through the day. You could give them a free coffee, or a discount on your products, but actually something that's not connected with the company is really nice. But whatever way you do it, just say thank you. I talked about getting reviews. I found that a lot of our clients were collecting reviews in an inconsistent way. So we created a Say Hola as a way of collecting those reviews in a consistent way, and then enabling you to get them onto your website. You can just copy and paste and put them on there. Or there's actually a paid version of this where it can automatically put them onto your website as well. But the main account is free. You can just go and sign up and start collecting them on by sending people a link straight away. And it just simplifies that process. And what I've also found is that because it's a third party and it's not you asking, people are often more likely to do it and give more genuine results. So it's definitely worth signing up for that. If you want a nice, consistent way of collecting testimonials, then go and check out sayhola.co. It's completely free for what most people would want. Okay, so back to my bulletproof content strategy. So really, there is nothing that is there is no magic bullet in this. I mean, producing content has to come from you or your team, and it has to work for your audience. But ultimately, if you can build in something that works for you, all the better. So what I look at here is, well, my content strategy is to do a podcast. I find it so much easier to talk on camera like this than I do to write a blog post. You might prefer to do it the other way around. The nice thing about doing it like this is that I can produce this video. I can then share this video on YouTube. I might stream it live as I was doing it through Facebook Live or some other streaming mechanism. There's lots of different ways you can sort of broadcast straight away. So you make the content and then you can share it as a recorded video later. You can do it as a podcast. You can embed it into a blog post. You may even get someone to pull out some of the core elements of it, transcribe the whole lot, make a full blog post out of it. And then you can share that blog post on whatever social channels work for your audience. You know, you've got to go back to your audience profiles for that. You might have an email and a newsletter, because some people prefer that. I know I do for some content. I prefer newsletter. Sometimes I don't. So you share it on a newsletter to make sure that people are caught up on what you've produced. And you can collaborate. You can work with other people who've got a similar audience, and you can encourage them to share it. Maybe get that article on their newsletter. And then that can multiply things out. I put 10 times. Who knows? It depends on how willing your collaborators are. But you can multiply that out by a lot by getting them to share it as well. And then you repeat the process. You measure how well you've done. You refine your audience and you refine your content, and you start again. It's got to be remarkable, not every single time, but what you've got to do has to have value. It has to stand out. It can't just be the same as everything else that is produced. So try and think of everything you're doing as adding value, even if it's just a few people, add some value to them. And then you want to publish consistently, whether that is once a month, every 2 weeks, like our podcast, or every week, or every day. Publish consistency. People like consistency. They like to know what's going to happen, especially people who are going to follow you. So publish consistency and be consistent in your tone of voice if you can. It might take you some time to develop that. But what I would recommend is don't think, well, I need to produce something daily. That may work and it may well trigger the algorithms to do really well as well. But if you can't keep up with that, you're going to fail. You're going to say, this isn't working. I've put too much effort into it, and stop. So I would just take a step back, do what you can to begin with, and build up a habit, build up that momentum, and then get better over time and increase what you're doing. And then share it. Ideally, just share it with people who you want to receive it, people who you want to become your fans, who really like what you're doing, and they're going to support what you're doing. And you know that because you've already gone and looked at your audience and you're always refining it. And if you can do this process well, you will build it up over time. You don't expect overnight success because it's not going to happen, but you've got to be consistent. It might be that after that year and a half, that's when it starts to build. What I found out of this is not necessarily that I've got massive success out of it. What I found is that doing this process has developed me as a person. So I found it as a useful way of holding myself to account, demonstrating that I actually do know this stuff. And then also using this information that I'm forcing myself to learn by putting out this content to bring it back into the client conversations I have to help me step up a level and learn new things. So I use it as a way of pushing me. Plus, it has grown my audience over time. It's been really useful. So this is my content strategy. Use it as you will. But effectively, all you need to do is create something that's remarkable, publish it consistently, and then share it with your audience. Hopefully, they become your fans. As I finish, I'm going to put this great quote here from Theodore Roosevelt and probably many other people, but this is the earliest one I could find. In any moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The next best thing you can do is the wrong thing. And the worst thing you can do is nothing. And so with that, what I'd like you to do is commit to an action, whether it's something that I've said or something I've triggered from what I've been talking about. I want you to think about what actions you can achieve over the next 14 days and note them down. Do share them with me if you have time and you want to put them in the questions, but otherwise we'll probably go to questions. But yeah, it is important for you to commit to something, just one thing that you can do. Just finally, I'd like to mention my club. So I have a marketing club where I put out the podcast every 2 weeks. There's a newsletter every 2 weeks that comes out a couple of days earlier, which features the podcast. It's also got in other links that I've found throughout the week, whether I link directly to them or you can see my commentary on it. So it gives you some useful insights into marketing. And also you get things to do. You've got a podcast where it gives you some insight and some work to do. So that's completely free. You can just go to ratherinventive.com/club and sign up there. If you love it, then do check out the pro one. It's not too much a year and you get 50% off if you remember my code. So do save that. Thank you very much. Do stay in touch with me. You can connect on LinkedIn. We've already got it here. Hopefully you've already swapped that. I'm at Ben Kinnaird on Twitter. Or if you want the slides, make sure you email support@ratherinventive.com and I'll make sure you get those. I'm not going to sign you up to any list that you don't want to be part of. I'll just make sure you get the slides and extra goodies. So with that being said, let's bring on the sponsor slide. And we've got, 5 minutes left for any questions. So if you want to answer any questions in there. I will also add, if anyone wants to talk to me about anything specifically outside of this, if you go to my website, ratherinventive.com, on the homepage, scroll to the bottom, there is a form there where you can fill out for a half an hour free call with me. So if you want to take some of these ideas further forward, please do that. I'm not going to sell you on anything. I just want to help you move forward and see what I can do to help you. I learn a lot from talking to businesses. So that's what I get out of it. If you then want to take something further forward, then please do. What questions have we got? Sean, thank you, Ben. Great tips in the last hour. Thank you very much. Sorry for the break. I don't know what happened to Zoom there. It just bombed out and brought me back in. So hopefully you did get a few bits there. But it's been great to meet you all. Hopefully you've got, there's tons lined up in Bath Digital at the moment. So hopefully you'll all find something else to carry on. I know there's lots in to do with marketing as well. Also, do check out Ed and my podcast recording, which is coming at 4:00 today. It's a bit of an experiment. Ed and I both do separate podcasts in different styles, and we have had a chat together before, and I met him at Bath Digital last year. But we're going to do an experiment where we come together and we're going to do a kind of workshop podcast where we talk about podcasting by asking each other questions and telling you how hard it is and why, if you're going to do it, you just need to know how hard it can be. But we're going to sort of bear all, and hopefully we're going to put it as a podcast. So everything could go wrong. So do go and check that out. Rachel, question. Okay. How do you encourage a group of professionals in a traditional industry like law to come around to this way of thinking and producing content? Ooh, that's a good question. It depends. I mean, so age can be part of it, but it's not age specifically that will affect how people think on developing their sort of online strategy. I think it's just their way of thinking. Maybe they have a quote unquote old way of thinking, but it's just that's how people are. I would say you encourage them by showing them, by demonstrating them, trying to find someone in their profession who is doing that already, and then sharing, then using them as a case study to say, look, this person has done really well by doing all the things I advocate. And then using that as a case study and talking about them. Even better, have an interview with that professional who is already doing that. And who's already doing that thing, have an interview with them and then share that interview. Because you basically, I mean, that's how I use a lot of our case studies. I use those case studies as a way of saying, this is someone who's been through it. They're just like you. And so you're going to find these things useful too. Sorry, that was probably rather meaty for the end of the talk. Hey, That's fine. We can get into detail. No, I basically say if you want other people to see the positives, you need to show them. And sometimes you just need to spend time and effort showing people that it is worthwhile. Some people already get it because they're already on that train. Some people, it just takes a little while longer. And I would find people who are already doing well in that industry and share that information with them. Do we have any more questions? Just looking through the list here. Thanks so much for coming anyway. I mean, it's great. We had a great number for this particular workshop. And I think we've done really well. Yeah, okay. We'll wrap it up there. Oh, another questions that popped in. No, we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you so much for taking part in this. Thanks so much for coming along. Thank you so much to all the sponsors who are supporting the Bath Digital Festival charity. It's amazing. And I hope to see you later on during our podcast. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of the Bath Digital Festival, and I will maybe meet you all online soon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.